has identified community unrest as one of its top 10 risks for South Deep Mine. Recent studies confirm that host communities are unhappy with the mine, no doubt helped by the paradox of proximity, the fact that communities living close to the mines seem to benefit the least. As a highly specialized gold producer, South Deep is also limited in the amount of labor it can draw from these host communities. With unemployment in the region running higher than the national average, the greatest impact on these communities will be the alleviation of poverty.
So one of the ways that we can create employment potentially is looking at our supply chain. Are we able to procure more goods locally in and around the mines as opposed to in the greater Gauteng area and also nationally in South Africa? So we started a project over a year ago now to see, first of all, what are we doing in terms of baseline? What sort of local procurement is there? What are the barriers to increasing the local procurement? And what can we do to actually address those issues? And that's really culminated in a detailed survey where we asked people to come forward to get a database of who are potentially providers of services and goods that might be relevant to our business. And using that information, we've been able to analyze the total spend, match that against the procurement database of potential vendors, look at our actual vendors both around the mines themselves as well as nationally, and figure out how we can try and bring more of that into local spend. I think it's fair to say that looking at some of the more complex items, big capital equipment that's imported together with the accompanying components, that's quite difficult to do. But in terms of basic consumables, labor hire, if you look at PPE that we use on the mines, catering, gardening services, etc., fuel distribution, there's a number of opportunities for us. And so as we sit today, in fact, we expect that by the end of this year, we will be procuring around about 330 million rand using around about 80 odd suppliers from in and around our mines. Now that's out of a total spend of 2 billion rand, which is made up of around about 778 suppliers. So we've made good progress with this project because a year ago, those figures were literally, in terms of procurement, just over half of that 330 million. And in terms of vendors, they were probably about 20% less.
Gold Fields has identified various options to encourage all its vendors to make a difference to its host communities in just a few years. Gold Fields has made headway in identifying new suppliers in host communities who meet its procurement criteria. It is also supporting secondary businesses, those vendors that may have a branch or other representation in the host communities. Vendors outside host communities are encouraged to form special purpose vehicles with vendors within host communities. Subcontracting arrangements are also encouraged. This is when components of a specific project are subcontracted to a host community vendor. Existing vendors are encouraged to recruit from host communities as well as to purchase goods and services from businesses in host communities. Non-local vendors, like the suppliers of large capital machinery, are encouraged to add value to host communities by providing monetary and non-monetary assistance, such as mentoring and training programs, or helping to upgrade infrastructure like schools, libraries, and clinics.
Now we've set an aspirational goal, and it is an aspirational goal, that we want to try and get to 25% of our total procurement of around 2 billion rand by 2020 and create 500 new jobs. And obviously some of those jobs have already been created, but we've probably still got around about another 70 or 80% to do over that period of time. So by continuing this work, we think we'll identify other opportunities by working with national vendors and urging them to set up local operations, local depots, local branches, subcontracting work to locals, and providing the training to locals to take this up. We think that this entire project at some point can be self-fulfilling and gather its own momentum.
Tembilani Mgadi is a director of Isizwe Construction and Projects Pty Limited, which has been contracted for underground secondary support services.
At this stage, we've got 124 people that we have employed from all these different communities that surrounding South Deep. because the whole idea was to actually promote the locals and to create employment. My role is to look at the side of finance and HR. At times I do work hand in hand in terms of the operations when we're having every Monday meetings and to see how the business is going. We are seeing more opportunities going outside, doing the same thing that we are currently doing for South Deep.
Pakamisa Chiali heads Dilokile Kana Trading and Projects, a small engineering company from one of the local communities.
We were encouraged to make proposals to the mine on services that we can offer. And I proposed that I refurbish and repair all the material cars that are used here at Twin Shaft. I've employed for the 6 months fixed term contract, I've got 10 employees and 2 others which are helping me with my admin. What makes me very happy to know that I'm also contributing towards the well-being of other families, not only for myself, because I'm definitely sure even the guys are also providing for their families because of this project.
It's all about shared value. This is not a handout. This is about helping people to help themselves. The best thing you can do for people is give them opportunities for them to put their hard work into generating money for themselves in the long term, because handouts can be spent and then after that, what do they do? At the same time, if we can procure goods and services cheaper than what we're doing now by sourcing them locally, there's a business benefit too. And that is the beauty of this, is the business benefits, communities benefit. We can redress some of the unemployment issues around the area and we can make a difference. And I think that will help our operation to be sustainable over time and will help us to make sure that we link to the community needs in and around the area.
PrimeServe Group Limited is one of the companies that has embraced the South Deep Procurement Initiative in more ways than one.
PrimeServe has been a long-standing supplier to Goldfields and to South Deep in particular, providing professional, skilled labour on underground projects. PrimeServe, more importantly, is really proud and pleased to be partnering with Goldfields on its community upliftment program. To this end, we have worked with South Deep and with Goldfields to develop the Tutukani creche and to develop a sustainable creche environment. At the same time, we know that there is an urgent need for housing within the local community environment around South Deep. There we are partnering with Goldfields South Deep to develop the skills needed to drive the housing project to fruition. So PrimeServe has identified the skills gaps. We are working with our training and skills development unit by training people with basic skills in carpentry, building and construction skills, which will allow them to find gainful employment. At the same time, we're also driving a sustainable procurement program. We're also spending our procurement money directly within the community. It is a long-term commitment with a true social benefit where the impact will have a true meaning on all of those within the local South Deep Westonaria community.
Host community vendor Case Transport hopes to benefit from a SPV arrangement with Megabus.
The knowledge and that we are able to sustain our businesses and we know what we are doing, and we have also employed quite a few people in our area. We are known to be people that to be the business that actually helps other businesses grow. We have a lot of experience in the transport area. We know the know-how and we've got a lot of knowledge in our company, and we're thinking that it will benefit us in the way that we will be able to also employ a lot of people in our area, which is Western area, and we'll be able to grow the economy of Western area.
We haven't done enough in this area. We've listened to the communities, we've heard their voices, and we now realize the urgency that we need to put into this project. So I'm hopeful that we'll see good progress next year and that we'll be well on our way to our goal of getting 25% of our procurement in and around the mines and creating those 500 jobs.